Hello, gamers, educators, and aspiring game industry professionals. My name is Dr. Engerman, and I'm a principal investigator for the Creative Media Factory. The Creative Media Factory focuses on four pillars for gaming success, which include competition, career development, community, and entrepreneurship. Today, the Creative Media Factory presents a gamer's guide to success with a panel of accomplished gaming industry professionals. You will have the opportunity to connect with these leading professionals about their inspirations, current projects, and pathways to success. We will save questions for the end of our discussion. In a moment, I will introduce the panelists, and our project manager, Ayana Totten, will begin moderating today's panel. Let's get into it.
Got him.
Oh, all right, all right. All right, all right. It is great to have you all here. Thank you for showing up. Welcome, viewers. Welcome, panelists, to the Gamer's Guide to Success. So I'm going to introduce these panelists one by one and then kick it off to Ayana Totten to ask some questions. So we've got Josh J., who plays for the Cavaliers Legion, the NBA 2K League affiliate of the NBA Cleveland Cavaliers. Josh plays both the 2 and the 4, which is the shooting guard and the power forward. He prides himself on shooting and aggressive defense. Next, we've got Danny Berger, who is the director of content for Atlanta Reign Overwatch team. Danny specializes in telling the story of the gamer lifestyle through long and short form content, as well as live broadcasts reaching thousands. Next, we've got Garvey Candela, the director of student and education programs at Twitch. From humble beginnings as a Magic the Gathering's professional player in '93 and an avid pen and paper role player. Prior, he's been involved in various ways to improve inclusivity and diversity throughout the gaming industry. Last but not least, we've got Kevin Mitchell, who's the founder and CEO of College Esports X, which is a live and virtual collegiate conference and events company. Kevin is a Converge Media and Immersive Entertainment executive and an adjunct professor of esports for Emerson College in Boston. So we've got quite the impressive lineup here, which is going to be incredible. I'm so excited. I'm going to pass the mic to Ayana Totten, one of CMF's project managers, so she can dig into these questions. Also note, we've got Mark Van Auken and Monica Wood, who are our two of our other project managers, and they'll be monitoring questions in the chat. So feel free to drop questions in there. Let's get it on.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for being a part of our panel. So first, we're going to focus on competition and gameplay with Josh J., Pro Cavs Legion player. So Josh, when people think about the ideal gaming career, they automatically go to pro players. What do you like most about your job and what do you like the least?
What do I like most about my job? Honestly, this is a very ideal job. You know, it's kind of like a dream job, per so to say. Yeah. I like basically flying to a new place, new city that you never really experienced before. They treat you very nicely over here. You know, like the Cavs organization. It's a very good organization. Definitely looks out for its players and its employees and so forth. And yeah, definitely the pay. You have to like the pay, right? That comes with being a professional athlete, and just the experience of playing professionally, playing against the best players in the world. You know, the practices. It's very intense. So that would be the pros of the job, per to say, or um, the part of the job that I like. The part that I don't like, being away from home, for a long period of time, being away from my son. That's obviously hard, and especially with COVID, not really being able to travel back and forth to, go see him and stuff. That was kind of, a downside of coming here. But apart from that, yeah, I don't really have any. And playing, um, sometimes. Like sometimes when I wanted to play, I couldn't, so that was kind of frustrating too. But apart from those two, you can't really have complaints about a job like this. It's a blessing from God. So you have to kind of cherish it.
Awesome. Okay. So after your experience with Cavs Legion, would you consider combining gaming with your law interests? Why or why not?
Yeah, definitely. I definitely would. Before I made the NBA 2K League, I was definitely going to go back to school. I was going to apply for law schools in Toronto, where I just relocated back from. I went to university in Tennessee, moved back home. I was going to apply for law schools, but I ended up making the 2K League, getting drafted to Cleveland. So now I'm in Ohio. But definitely, I honestly, for right now, want to pursue my esports pathway. I feel like, I can always go back to school and further my education a little bit later in life. But as for right now, I have a strong passion for esports. So I'm definitely just going to continue, furthering my content, furthering the way that I can, not only stay in the 2K League, but honestly, like try to make a career for myself outside of that from esports.
Right. Cool, 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 cool. Okay, so next we're looking at the careers that keep an esports team up and running. We're heading over to Danny, Director of Content for the Atlanta Reign Overwatch team. So, Danny, you studied at Montclair State University for 3 years and left college to start your own video production company, which you later sold. How did this choice help you find success in the gaming space? And do you think the non traditional approach can still work?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the skills carried over. Being able to interview guests, it's just the same interviewing a pro player as it is to interview a doctor, which is what I started interviewing first off. And a lot of the techniques that we use for not only just the videos themselves, but also the biz dev part of it. Getting clients. When you run your own company, you have to pull people in to have a positive, to make profit. So now, without having to go out and find my own clients, I'm actually able to focus more on the content side of it. So now I can tell all these amazing stories about gamers, and show people that there's a lot that happens from, behind the keyboard or behind the controller, and to show the world that there's a lot more that goes into being a professional gamer. And there's millions and millions and millions of avenues that you can take to get actively involved in the gaming industry as a whole. So a lot of stuff transferred over from running my own company to now building one of the largest Overwatch League teams brands online. And I have a ton of fun with it.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so why is branding and content development important for an esports team's success off the screen?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's super important to have a strong branding and to have strong content. When you look at a company, you always have assets, right? So your major asset in gaming is your pro players. That is your product. That is what you sell. But if you don't have content that you're pushing out every single day, how are you going to showcase your talent and your assets? So content and branding is super important because the players, when they're not playing, people need things to watch. They need to know, why are you going to follow this team? Why are you going to buy all of their merch? Why are you going to go see their live events? And it's my job to make people, if you can't go to a live esports event or a live gaming event, especially nowadays, I can still draw you in and show you the magic of the gaming industry as a whole through my organization's brands. I hope you watch a video about how a player, went from leaving college and mom and dad's house to becoming a successful pro, because everybody's story is so unique and we all have a story that we have, we're all running our own story. So if I can inspire one person to say, hey, I'm in high school right now, but I have an iPhone and I have, Movie Maker on Windows for free. I want to start making cool things. Like, start now. That's what I hope to achieve, doing, building the brand for these huge, huge, huge orgs so that someday somebody can say, hey, I want to do something like that.
Cool, cool. Okay, so a big part of gaming is being part of the larger culture. We're going to shoot over to Garvey Candela, Director of Student and Education Programs at Twitch. So, Garvey, how do students in their university change when they go through the Twitch student program? What skills, assets, and knowledge do they leave with?
So every university is a little bit different, but by and large, what we try to do is work with universities and curriculum. And what we try to do is remove the words of gaming and esports when we put curriculum together. And we try to focus on the emerging new and digital media skills that's inherent in gaming, live broadcasting, the business of influencing, stuff like that. So an example might be if a university came to me and wanted to put a marketing class together and they wanted to make an esports marketing class. I would go through the curriculum and help them build it where it wouldn't be an esports marketing class because, some parents might not be as in the know. They might just see video games and not be happy. So I would recommend, first of all, that it would be a marketing and emerging new and digital media class through gaming and esports. So gaming just becomes the vehicle to engage students in what they're learning and turn it in from a chore into a hobby. And I think that's really, really important while also providing that roadmap for students, especially in STEM and STEAM. So 70% of students in my program, my Twitch student programs in 26 countries right now. It will probably be in over 50 by middle of next year. We're bringing on all 28 Spanish-speaking Latin American countries next year. But the idea is really to create that roadmap, make it a hobby, give them a good community to be a part of. So this student that takes this digital marketing class might go outside of the classroom and be a part of the official esports program and put together a digital media strategy for them. Okay, what platforms do we have available to us? We have Twitch, we have YouTube, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have LinkedIn. What data is available to us on those platforms? What's the messaging that we can go and get a little bit more visibility for our program? And what's the beautiful part is when they graduate, the whole Twitch student program is really meant to create this idea in students themselves that they're graduating not as an independent contributor recent graduate, but as a seasoned team playing young professional. Why? All those contributions to the esports program with the Twitch student program teaches them how to get the data out of it, qualitative and quantitative data. What's your inputs? What's your outputs? What's your contribution? What's your result? So now when you look at a portfolio, the cover letter one will be amazing, right? This is your way to show the soft skills that's inherent in being part of a gaming program, right? You have to work with an art student to make sure the graphics for your Twitter looks good. You have to work with the AV club to make sure your live broadcasting productions are working really well. You have to work with a business student to try and put a marketing deck together to sell against the program to bring some additional funding in. That's all represented on a cover letter that's emphasizing that those soft skills that most people in industries don't think students have. Then you go onto the portfolio and it's not school projects, right? They're real world executions because there's data. Okay, I started at A and 3 years later we're at Z. And we have a 33% increase in not only the community size, which is represented by followers, right? But they're also highly engaged. So different platforms have different ways that the digital marketing student will understand that on Twitch, we have engagement metrics on what's the average viewed time of a content piece? How often do they chat in the Twitch chat? Obviously, if the content is immersive, if it's engaging, they watch more of it and they chat more. So that's one form of engagement. On Twitter, you don't only look at how many people are following you, how many likes do you get, how many comments do you get, how many retweets do you get, because that's a form of engagement. And that's the differentiation point that we're trying to teach students on the transition from linear, traditional media, newspapers, right, TV, into the digital medium where we have these great engagement factors, which makes everything more valuable to the people you work for.
Okay, cool.
Sorry,
So
that was a mouthful.
no, it's fine. I love it. Give us all the gems. Okay, so for anyone who's interested in joining the program for the upcoming school year, what does the process look like to reach levels 1, 2, and 3?
So we have a Twitch student portal. It's I don't want to take up the whole hour going through the process, but it's if you just Google Twitch student, it's the first search that comes up. But the three core components that we look for, and every school, every university, every high school is different. They start at different places because different administrators that support the students come from different areas. So, for example, we look at three things: community, competition, and careers. These are very, very important to a student. It's very important to an educational institution as a business entity as well, right? So if a gaming club has an advocate and a professor, it might be in student affairs. So obviously they would focus on the community part of it, and they would build an arena for the community to gather and come to the student hall and experience life together, share skills, share love, share passions, right? Other schools like University of Utah started in their engineering department, right, and their games design program. So obviously they were very strong on curriculums. Then you have some schools that go through the athletics department. Obviously, they start with the competition side. With the Twitch student program, it's a consistent program, but it's modular. So we can be agile enough to work with each university on where they are, not where we would like them to be. I'm very against telling people what to do. I just put everything out on the table and say, what is good for you? What seems easy for you to do? What's low hanging fruit? What's appealing to you? We'll focus on that. And when your comfort zone expands a little bit more and you see how easy it is to run a program, because the students literally run the whole program. All the administrators have to do is look cool, because they are now the cool administrators on the block. And it's proven. I can't tell you, professors that are involved in gaming and esports on their campus, their office hours are absolutely booked every single time. There's no free time. Students waiting for them outside in the hallway after class, even if they're not attending the class, to ask, oh, when are you going to do this class again? When are you going to do that? I want to sign up. But all these courses that we put together like this literally are fully booked within 2 to 5 minutes of it going up on the registration page of the university. So it's like first come, first serve. So obviously now universities are thinking of expanding a little bit more. And how do we do an art class in emerging new and digital media through the esports and gaming program? Things like that.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for that. All right. So finally, we're going to look at how you bring it all together as an entrepreneur in the gaming space. So we're heading over to Kevin Mitchell, founder of the College Esports Expo. So Kevin, based on the most recent College Esports Expos, what does the future of gaming and esports look like, and why would gamers be wise to consider a professional career in the space?
Thanks for having me. I think it's wise thinking about the environment and the landscape. Students go to college to, understand what kind of a pathway to translating their passion into a potential career. Gaming, as you well know, is an activity that's prevalent in every community. And people understanding that gaming is beyond a passive experience, that it's potentially a multi-billion-dollar industry that can translate into the technology space, broadcasting, content, marketing, education, science, physical conditioning, mental health. There's so many areas that the gaming and the esports space touches. I think it's important that uh, schools and parents become aware that there is life beyond just being a competitor. What Joshua talked about, after school, thinking about law school and having gaming as a pathway. Fortunately, God blessed him with talent to be able to play professionally as an NBA 2K player. But the reality has challenged him to be able to identify a career pursuit that allows him to continue and build wealth for his family and continue to enhance his community. So for me, esports is a pathway to economic empowerment, to equity, diversity, inclusion, but also seeing at the high level of STEM interaction that Garvey can really attest to through their research. It's a pathway to getting kids to engage with technology. And in addition to that, my daughter's a perfect example, and she hates when I tell this story because it's kind of, you know, she ran her high school esports program got her way into MIT. She's starting this fall, and she can barely turn on an Xbox. She cannot play. She does not care to play, but she loves the community. She loves that all the geeks, all the kids that are in the audience during the pep rallies, and the ones that don't get selected to the prom kings and queens, and that don't have the physical talent like myself to become an all-star like LeBron in high school. It's going to include everyone else. If you're good at making videos, if you can draw, if you love science, if you want to deal with mental health and conditioning, if you want to deal with apparel, equipment, branding, advertising, all of these areas can be inspired through engagement with esports programs. Guys like Garvey, programs like NASEF, programs that Jason is inspiring through the NSF, all of that is going to provide qualitative data and research to hopefully get like the Department of Education to understand this is beyond just a fringe activity that takes place in a basement with Mountain Dew and Cheetos, that this is way beyond that. It's a way to, again, building our community, to build an educational pathway, to create more engagement, for colleges, it's retention, right? Also, how do you engage with alumni in the COVID era? You don't have a homecoming, you don't have the tailgating events, right? Let the old timers like me game. I'll come back. I'm 50 plus, but I will play with my fraternity brothers, guys, whatever, once a week. I'm not going to practice 10 hours a day, but I'll play every week. And if I could play on a UMass team and play NBA 2K and be Dr. J and just relive that moment of Dr. J in the ABA, side story. But think about it. It's a way to engage the science people, the business people, the artistic people, everybody else aside from the Ezekiel Elliott's of the world that are destined for success on the field. It's for everybody else. So I'm hoping to bring light to that so that parents can really understand that, hey, this is beyond just that type of medium. It's beyond just an entertainment activity. It's a lifestyle and it's a future. And I'll leave with a great example. I'm doing CEX, College Esports Expo. I've shifted to a virtual format. This year, we were fortunate enough to get partners in Africa, India, Brazil, and we're basically bringing the esports educational message across the globe. One of the individuals in Kenya we're working with, he told me about this young African woman who's a law school student, and she happens to play CSGO. She got offered to be on a professional CSGO team in London. And now she has this kind of challenge. I guess it's similar to Josh, like where, hey, do I go play CSGO or do I not? But she's an African woman, a woman of color who's pursuing higher education, and her pursuits did not detract her from still pursuing a legal education, but it's still something that can catalyze students and individuals for educational empowerment, economic empowerment, and for social connectivity and inclusion and all those other tangible benefits that Garvey's going to talk about, because I know he's been doing some amazing studies. So Garvey, if you don't mind talking, because I know he doesn't like to talk much, but Garvey, if you could share any of that insight, the audience would love to hear that.
So it's interesting when you look at STEM. In 2015, when I launched the Twitch student program, America had a 31% STEM enrollment rate, which is great. Unfortunately, we had a 61% attrition rate, meaning that they didn't have a roadmap, they didn't have a runway, they didn't know how to apply what they were learning in STEM skills to an industry that's interesting, exciting, and that they could feel they're really making a difference to. So the attrition rate was quite high, which left us globally ranked 46 in terms of science and math education. That was really, really bad. But I'm happy to say since 2015, we've been having a lot of these universities and high schools create these great programs where they're showing how these skills are actually really, really a core part of gaming. So now there's a roadmap. Now there's a runway for students to take STEM and STEAM. STEAM is extremely important. STEAM skills and apply it to a brand new industry that they know, they love, and that has so many known unknowns. And who even knows how many unknowns we have, right? So I really like the Twitch student program because I'm part of the industry. I have my eyes and ears open. I'm identifying problems. These problems I give to the universities to create with the students solutions where, okay, the university is teaching solutions and now a student graduate and the student becomes the bridge between um, a problem and a solution. And therein lies opportunity, not only for the university, not only for the student, not only for the industry, win, win, win. So I'm proud to say that 2019 was the first year in almost 3 decades that America has had a STEM enrollment increase. And it was actually by several percentage points. It wasn't like a hundredth of a percentage point. So it's quite a large jump. There's no studies and no data that will show this distinct line between these great gaming and esports programs going on at high schools and universities and the education that wraps around it. But we could kind of extrapolate that, oh, wow, okay, 2015 collegiate esports kind of started being talked about. 2016 gaming blew up in universities, game design programs, USC, Miami University at Ohio, University of Utah. These are all top 5 universities for game design. But now it's branching outside where, they're figuring out art, but it's all in digital media, right? Nobody's at least what we do, we're not taking a pen and a paper or a paintbrush and stuff like that. It's all being done online, right? So, um, yeah, so that's the increase over 4 years, and I think it's a good starting point to begin the discussion that there should be studies that correlate the increased um, participation in gaming and esports programs at high schools and universities that are directly benefiting whatever nation these programs. Again, I don't only look at North America. I work in every country in the world. Um, so you can see a lot of good that can come from a lot of people elevating themselves and being happy with how they're learning and what they're learning and where it's going to be applied to. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
I want to shoot back over to Josh J for 1 minute. You said something really interesting, like just like the actual basketball, NBA 2K players can get benched. So what do the coaches assess or look at to determine whether you need to be benched?
They really just like kind of look at kind of experience, coaches kind of trust players that they've been accustomed to for more time, that they've been around, they've maybe coached for a longer time period. I'm a rookie. This is my first year in the 2K league. I'm on a very experienced team. So like everybody on my team has either been in the 2K league since it started or since the second season. So yeah, I'm a rookie, so I didn't really get to play a lot this season. But so far, I played a lot of games though for a rookie, so it's satisfying. But wanting to play all of them, it's
Right.
definitely it comes up. It comes up in your mind sometimes, but I understand the
Right.
circumstances. So
So it's more
I can
about your
add to that.
ability
Oh,
to
sorry. Go
lean
ahead.
into the. Oh no, go Monica if you had a
I was
question.
just gonna ask, like, as an individual and as a rookie in particular, what do you feel like you bring specifically to your team as an individual?
what do I feel like I bring to my team? I just feel like I bring like
Swag.
apart from the
It could be
swag,
that.
I just bring the real to them, like I
Yeah,
just let them know how it is, and what it's looking like. I don't really sugarcoat too much, and I feel like our team needs that structure,
right.
um that's mainly what I bring to the team. I just let them know like when they're doing well, I definitely give them their props, but when they're not doing what they need to be doing and I feel like I can contribute in a way, then I'm voicing that as well.
Right.
Right. Okay. And Danny, I want to circle back to you too. So, how do you guys define the Atlanta Reign Overwatch team brand? And then what are some of the technicals that go into managing all those social media pages?
Yeah. So when we develop the brand, we just talk about like how do we want to be viewed, right? So if we were a guest at a dinner party, is like the analogy I like to use. What kind of guest would you be? We're the hot-headed Chads of Overwatch League. Like we spout out trash talk during matches. Our players are goofy, but you have to take us seriously. So that's like our brand overall. So basically, that gives me the freedom on socials to just joke around, trash talk other teams within reason, obviously. And all the pieces it lines up because it comes to light. That's kind of your thread. No matter whether you're tweeting, putting up an Instagram post, or putting a video out, you want to see that. We call it being Chads, right? It's just like the jock, like the big jock at the gym. But we're the jock of the Overwatch League. So when we do interviews, like our players, they can mouth off a little bit, right? That's what our fans expect. So I keep those like little snippets in those videos, not because trash talk is like, the focus, but because that's who they are as a person. And we want our brand to reflect the majority of our players. They know they're good. They know they're great at what they do. And they're not afraid to, say, hey, kid, get good at the game. So when we tweet, you don't want to. We went back and forth about some of the branding and us being an Atlanta team, Georgia. We were on the fence about like Southern hospitality, right? I'm from New Jersey, so I don't believe in that. So we ended up like talking, and we're like, you know what? These guys, they're not from Atlanta, but they're repping the team. They love Atlanta sports, but let's put our own fusion on it. So that's where we come up with a hot-headed, we're here to be we're called the gatekeepers now. So if you want to be a top 5 or top 10 team in the Overwatch League, you got to beat the Atlanta Reign. And even if our record's not looking the greatest, you're in for a show. Like when you watch Overwatch League on YouTube, the viewer numbers spike up the minute we say we're going live. We pull in an extra 10,000 viewers because they know they're in for, even if we lose, they're going to see, one of the players trash talk, or they're going to see some tactical crouching within the game. So all these moving parts, like you just have to keep your brand in mind so that when you don't know what to tweet for the day, you have to tweet something, you have to put content out. It makes it super easy. You're not generating from scratch. You just have to know who you are and know what your brand is.
All righty, I feel that. Okay, cool. All right, so awesome. Now that we've heard each of your stories, we're going to dig into some group questions. So first, diversity in esports. Why do we care about it?
I think Garvey should talk first because he hasn't had much to talk about. Go ahead, Garvey.
Diversity is really important because you don't want to operate in a vacuum. You don't want to operate in a silo. Different ideas, different backgrounds, different ways to live. This all contributes to creative process. This is a very creative industry. You want as many people from as many different walks of life as possible involved so we can create something better, right? Gaming and esports, I think, has the potential to do something different. As you noticed before, when I talked about these skills that are being learned and the focus on data. So we're clear, for the most part, the business of gaming influencing esports, it's creating content that generates data that shows the value of the content to sell against, right? So you want to work with as many people to be as appealing and to think a different way, create different kinds of content. Again, it's all about not operating in an echo chamber. And because data is the entire business of what we're doing, data does not identify with societal constructs, artificial societal constructs, right? Data does not care about what gender you associate with. It doesn't care if you say God, Yahweh, or Allah. It doesn't care about the pigmentation of your skin. It's looking at inputs and outputs, contributions and results, right? So if you look at these two factors, right, that you don't want to operate in an echo chamber, right, and that data shows value, and that's really what the business is, data, and data does not identify with any artificial societal constructs. It kind of brings that idea of working together and having different inputs and having different backgrounds, all contributing towards a better future.
And I think one of the things, and I'm speaking just on the business side, because there's obviously a moral reasoning for wanting to have a more diverse environment. But let's just make the economic sense and make a case for why diversity is so important economically. When you think about, if you have a business, you have to supply to customers. You want your customer base to be as large as possible. So it's going to include a diverse population that you need to appeal to. Your company, if you want it to perform better, productivity, ideas, innovation, studies have shown that a more diverse executive office with women, people of color, different genders performs better, They overachieve. Companies that just may have one homogenous particular set of people. So the productivity, the growth, everything based on a diverse mindset can increase job performance, economic data, information, what have you. Thinking about from the gaming lens, it's important because esports is already diversified. When you think about, there's no real global barriers. When you go to an esports event, if you're fortunate enough to go, you're going to see every race, walk, life. I mean, there's no global boundaries. It's not like American football or just rugby where it's regionalized. It's global. When you look at the makeup of these teams, when you look at the gameplay, I mean, there are socio-economic factors that lead to the adoption of particular types of games, meaning mobile games in areas like Africa, Brazil, and India are more accessible. So you're going to see a higher density of mobile gaming, especially within the esports marketplace. And you'll hear games like Free Fire that people in the US might be like, what is that? But you go to Brazil and that's as big as League or Fortnite, right? So I think just making an economic case, you know, people of color in America have had a direct impact on our biggest export: culture, entertainment, technology adoption. Think about the adoption of Twitter, Black Twitter, Facebook. It's all been driven and inspired by communities of color. So I think it's important for us to understand those parallels and understand that it makes for a better society. Your children can live in a better, more open and tolerant environment if you support diversity and inclusion efforts.
Awesome. Danny and Josh J, how have you guys seen diversity at play in your organizations?
I'll let
Go for
Danny
it,
go
Josh.
first.
Oh, you're gonna let me go first? I was gonna pass it to you. All right. So diversity, I mean, think about it. My job is to tell stories, and how boring would it be if everybody was the same, gamer in mom's basement who never saw the light of day, went pro, makes a lot of money, and doesn't have like any sort of like spark, right? They're just good at the game. So like the more people we can get in this industry, that's more stories, that's more things that we can point a spotlight at and make a case for how the industry as a whole, it's not just kids playing games anymore. This is professional. This is a professional space with lots and lots of stories and people from different backgrounds. Like Kevin said earlier, it's where I say it a little bit more harshly, but it's where all the misfits kind of just ended up, right? Like gaming. You were like the weird kid back, a few years ago. It wasn't even long ago, and now it's all of them collectively coming together. That's why diversity is important. You just can't keep telling the same old story, and you don't need to create stories from scratch when you just talk to a human being one on one.
And the fact that you're in Atlanta, of all places, right?
Right.
The hotbed of African American culture.
Mhm.
So yeah, well said.
Uh, yeah, I definitely agree with all of y'all in terms of diversity in esports. So I think it's definitely a big thing. I feel like it's a growing platform also. Um, with myself being African American, mainly African. Both my parents are African, from African descent, but I was born in Canada. Feel like that kind of my background kind of brings some diversity to my team. For instance, I'm able to do this conference. I have a college background. Maybe me and you can do the conference with the African people, the MBA program. What was that called again?
It's a seed project. It's a
Seed
it's a
project.
program in Senegal. Yeah.
Senegal project, but definitely in terms of that, I definitely feel like I can assist. And yeah, I feel like diversity, the more diverse esports gets, the bigger the platform will grow, bigger it'll get, more money that will come into it.
And I'd love to share my experience as an educator. For me, what diversity meant for me, because I've already lived a diverse life because I got the best tan in the house, right? But being in the classroom with students from China, from France, from Brazil, from Africa, from all over, I got I mean, a better research focus group, like no corporation could pay for that type of insight and
Yeah.
culture and experience. And it essentially made me what I am in terms of an esports executive. I went
Definitely.
there to teach them, but I walked away learning from them and understanding, in China, this is how things happen. In Korea, this is what's happening in Europe and Canada or in Africa. So from an educational standpoint, I look at diversity as a characteristic that is essential to anyone, just in terms of growth and just humanity as a whole. Your compassion for people that are experiencing economic strife or difficulty. I become more receptive to it and understanding that these people in Africa and India or Brazil appreciate the finer things in life, like people talking, culture, family, things like
Definitely.
that, and it makes you think about the world a lot differently. So
Definitely.
again, yeah.
Awesome.
How about the students? I would love to hear the students' perspective on that, Mark and Monica. Not to take over the whole thing, but I love to hear our students talk
You
about
trying to
this.
take my job, Kevin?
Monica, go ahead. You can go first.
Well, no, yeah, sure. So I'm personally like not a gamer, but
The club.
Ayana,
One Call of Duty kill.
neither is Ayana, but I think we can both attest to the fact that before Esports U, we were both the type of people like, I can do it myself. I don't need any help. I can do it perfect. And now I feel like after working together and meeting new people and obviously like it's huge. It's diversity. And now I'm like, oh my God, like what was I talking about before? I'm so stubborn. Like the quality of my work has just like flourished because I opened up my mind and because we all opened up and we collaborate wonderfully. And I think it's a perfect example,
Mhm.
personally for me. Yeah.
And I think it's cool because we operate like a team, and then being
Yeah.
in the gaming space, you kind of have to fall into that dynamic where you can't do it all. And just like there's a lot of career pathways behind the screen, there's a lot of roles that go into us just executing stuff like this webinar and anything that we've executed in terms of gaming. There's the graphics and just all the digital media, and there's the actual gameplay. So I think just being part of CMF period shows you just what diversity brings in terms of not race, but perspective and circumstance and experience, especially when you're new to the space. So it's super exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I agree. It's insane from point A to point B with working with Creative Media Factory. The growth that I think everyone's gone through. Because I wasn't here in the very beginning, like Monica and Ayana were, but from then until now, when I met them, the growth of everyone in the organization has double, triple. The quality is insane. What we're producing now, it's immense.
Yeah, we've met awesome, creative, intelligent, inspiring people too. So it's like it's unbelievable really the experiences that we've had in the last, year and a half together. So
Yeah.
Right.
everything.
And I think it's important to tell these stories because that got me involved and engaged. And when we look at Garvey's business, my business, even Danny's business, it's driven by students. Students are creating it, consuming it, engaging it. They're the future. And the best way to get involved is through programs, through schools, high school, college, and having educators like Jason that really take the lead and introducing these programs to the community.
So
Right.
what's really funny is Twitch, Amazon, everybody in the industry is so baffled about why a student program can be as wildly successful as the student program that we started in 2015. And I sit back and I kind of laugh because it's not rocket science. I'm not in the business of guessing. I'm in the best business of being in the service of. So, the program was built by students. All I did was say, look, I got a hold of Twitch and Amazon's pocketbook. Like, what can we do? And I just sat back. I just sat back and took notes. And whatever the students told me, I hired my team directly from my Twitch student program, right? And I listened. Right. Of course, I have to put together the 20,000-foot view. How does it tie in from national to pan regionally to international? What does community competition in Korea look like? What does education look like in this space? But once I put a big parameter out, I let them fill in the details, and what details they don't have, we ask the student leaders. So basically, listen to the students. They know what they're about. Nobody knows this space like they do. And think about it a little further, right? Gen Z, great, we're trying our hardest, but Generation Alpha is coming down the pipeline. They're hitting high school next year. This is the first digitally born, digitally native generation ever, meaning as soon as they can open their mouth and start, crying, their parents are sticking an iPad in front of their face, right? So the skills are being learned at an earlier and earlier age. I heard that there's some professional teams, esports teams out there that are actually watching high school games to figure out the new metas that's coming out, because they're way ahead of the curve now, way, way, way ahead of the curve now. Fortunately, the industry has evolved where we can't hire 14-year-old kids to play for professionally anymore. They should get their education first. And Joshua, I agree with you that you said that you went to college a little bit later according to your opportunity. I was much the same. I grew up very poor on Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn in the 70s and 80s. I didn't have anything. I couldn't afford to go to school, so I had to find work. But as soon as I could, I went back to college. I didn't go to college till I was 31 years old.
Wow.
And I went for 5 years. I graduated college when I was 36 years old, because that was the only time that I actually had 2 pennies to rub together to make sure that I wasn't put into that debt trap.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So I saved up money. I did my research. I found out exactly what the tuition is. And again, I didn't care what the institution was. I didn't need to go to a Harvard. I didn't need to go to an Oxford. I went to a city university of New York, right? Took a couple classes in Brooklyn College, but mainly in the College of Staten Island, because it was the cheapest tuition, right?
Yeah.
And education is a tool. It's only supposed to be like your parents, right? They guide you in a certain direction. They give you parameters, but you want to grow and be your individual and have your own set of moralities and ethics and stuff like that with the guidance of the family structure. School's very much the same. I would go into a philosophy class here, a history class here, and great, the class is going to teach me about one period, but I get so many tangents that's so interesting. I would run out of the classroom and spend 4 hours in the library looking up side pieces that had nothing to do with the classes, but was interesting and helped me grow as a person, helped me grow as a professional, helped me walk a mile in other people's shoes to have more empathy for people. So college is a really great personal growth experience. And
100%.
yeah, and just like go when you're able. And some people have parents that can afford to pay for college. Some people get scholarships. But by and large, students are graduating with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking. So that's what I'm hoping with my program as well, is that we're teaching all these great skills that they can apply. We have a lot of students that now broadcast on Twitch as full-time students,
Mhm.
that are paying for their tuition, paying
Mhm.
for their rent, paying for their cars, paying for their friends' dinners, without having to leave the safety of their campus, without having to sacrifice what they're learning in school to drive a half hour to go work in Home Depot for 4 hours at $12 an hour, right? No, they can be in the comfort of their dorm rooms, playing with their friends, and still earning a little bit of money to pay for their tuition, even if it's just pocket money.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Everything helps, right?
So,
Definitely.
Mark, I don't want to
Definitely.
cut you off, but I want us to get into those students who have lots of questions for us. So, I'm going to pass the mic to Monica so she can dig into those.
All right, yeah. So we have some live questions currently coming in from our Twitch chat. The first one is for Josh J from McLaughlin, and he wants to know, before going into a tournament or a professional game, how do you get into the right mindset or prepare for your upcoming game?
We normally scrimmage a couple teams beforehand, maybe the day before, day of, just to stay in rhythm of the game. Watch film before, maybe like 15, 20 minutes before the game. The opposing team, just their tendencies, what they do, what they run plays, stuff like that. And then we usually just say like a team prayer, and just try to lock in for the game. So my teammates, they're thinking music, they turn on, start listening to music and stuff before the game. But me, yeah, after that prayer, I'm ready to go.
It's very interesting because I played soccer for ESU for the last 4 years, and you literally just mirrored our pregame warm up.
Yeah, it's
It's
crazy.
like exactly the same thing. That's super interesting, We're
Yeah.
straight
What
across.
song, Josh? What song gets you hyped to hit the court? Like, is it what's that
What
one
song?
song
What
that
song gets me
if they
hyped?
play it, it's game over?
It's a couple. It's a couple
Pop
right
Smoke?
now. It's a couple. Oh yeah, R.I.P. for sure.
Rockstar.
R.I.P. Pop Smoke. Definitely some Pop Smoke. Definitely, I'm gonna have to go with some Pop Smoke. Yeah, any
All
Pop
right.
Smoke, anything from the Pop Smoke album right now.
That's
That new
awesome.
album is fire. Make It
Yeah.
Rain, 44 Bulldog.
Yeah, Pop Smoke or I don't know if y'all are familiar with Gunna. That's one of my favorite artists too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's next to Tchaikovsky in my music catalog.
Definitely.
All right, so we got another question here for everybody from Small Biscuit. What steps would someone have to take to become a professional gamer or a popular Twitch streamer? So like, what are the fundamental steps in your eyes?
Fundamental steps. Starting young. Definitely start young. Try to build your platform from a young age. Keep consistent whatever you do, whether if you play video games or if you're just a content creator, keep consistent in what you do, your work, be good at the game every year, or keep consistent with your content. And yeah, just try to network, that they say that it's really not what you know, it's who you know in life. So
Right.
just definitely try to network from a young age, building up.
Yeah.
I would say also, I started out as a radio DJ, and
Ah.
I didn't have any experience. But what I did is I traveled to New York and record DJ Red Alert off 98.7 Kiss FM, and I literally didn't just record the music. I would record his vocals, him talking,
Yeah.
right, and then I would just listen to how he talked, how his voice sounded, and would just copy him. And I would copy his commercials, his explosions, his sounds. I
Yep.
think for an influencer,
The air horn.
record. Yeah, exactly. You could, if you want to be an Access TV host, if you want to be Entertainment Tonight, record the people that you like to see, and then mirror them, copy them, and do the same thing. Record yourself, watch yourself, keep doing it over and over, and then you'll get the posture, the voice. You'll get everything down after you keep looking at yourself. But just look at others for inspiration and just model what they're doing. But pay attention to detail, how they're saying a whole lot of information in a 15-second break right before the music starts. And you wonder, how do they time that out? Music has 32 sections, 8 bars. So they perfectly wrap it up. 98.7 Kiss FM, and the music starts. Boom.
Rap attack.
So thinking about the timing when somebody talks, things like that will help you to get better. Sorry, I kind of went back to the 80s for a sec there.
Now we like it. All right.
I like what Joshua said about networks. I say all the time, your network is your net worth. The only thing I'd like to contribute to this part is learn the mechanics, learn the business of it, right? Learn what platforms you have available to you. If you're a Twitch streamer, you should be complementing that with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, right? Because it's about data aggregation, and again, the data shows the value of the content, and that's how you earn your money, right? So if you can get as much data points in as possible, learn the mechanics of what's available to you. That's the path to success, is learning mechanics and working it from the inside out.
All right. Sounds good.
One
Dave,
last tip, Monica. Sorry.
Go ahead.
If you want to be an influencer, there's a website called Tube Filter. Tube Filter just covers everything that has to do with influence and social media. Just understand, to Garvey's point, what's happening in the industry. What country has banned TikTok? Who knows, right? If you read Tube Filter and stay in
India.
top of the news. Thank you so much. But just understanding trends, new technology, new formats. If it's mobile, if it's console, whatever it might be, just pay attention to the industry information.
Okay. So we have a question from LaDonna. For anybody that's interested in chiming in here, they said, I'm curious what you would all look for in an esports coach. What role do you think they play that is essential?
I think that's for Josh. Esports coach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe what qualities do you think are standout in an esports coach?
What qualities? Definitely attendance. He has to be there a lot just to kind of see what's going on, see the tendencies of the team. I feel like an esports coach should be kind of like an authoritative figure in a way. The players have to kind of have some type of mutual respect for him, kind of not fear him, but have that player coach relationship,
Mhm.
um, to be able to play to their best abilities. And last but not least, I don't know. I guess just compassion for the game.
Mhm.
Wanting to be there, wanting to win, um, wanting to see the best out of all your players. Yeah, that would be it.
Cool.
I would say just general leadership skills, analytical skills. He talked about film. How do they prepare other players? What techniques do they use? What experience have they played before? Do they have techniques? Do they understand the importance of a physical sound mind as well as the mental? And understanding how to communicate with different people from different cultures. There's been esports teams that have been divided because half the team's from Korea and the coach is American, and he doesn't understand that they need to have their kimchi when they want it, and understanding food and how important their families are. So you almost have to be a coach from the aesthetic sense of basketball or whatever the title is, but also a cultural coach, and also a nurse to some degree, a financial manager, and a parent, all rolled into one. It's like being an artist manager. You're dealing with family issues, physical issues, economic issues. So you have to have a well-rounded perspective beyond just the dynamics of a game or a title. You have to understand people, because people who can't communicate and understand conditions generally aren't great leaders. They have to understand like pain points and how to develop people. So um, that's it.
You're muted, Monica.
Thank you. So one of our last questions we actually had from Instagram, somebody wants to know, what majors in college would you recommend entering? I know we talk about a lot STEM, and we talk about a lot about gaming, but what majors and courses and paths in college would you recommend somebody who's interested in maybe say one of your career paths?
I believe in following your passion. So if you're into math, I would go into big data and analytics. If you're into computers, computer science, and maybe game design, if you're like want to be in the front office, then you do management. I think it's important for someone to take something that they like and adapt it into a major, and then look at esports and see how it fits, because there's something for everyone. Because ultimately, you can't go to school to be a forensic scientist if you can't stand a dead body, right? Or understand the legal system, right? And I know that from personal experience, not from me, but someone close. You really have to have a passion for whatever it is. No accountant is just going to be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to jump right into it. I used to be a video director, but now I'm an accountant. Like, you have to have a passion for the numbers. So I think it starts with personal passion and then identifying how it can apply. And the other big piece is, and this is really relevant to me, is understanding that you might go to school for one career path and then all of a sudden the industry shifts and your entire career is over. So make sure that those skills are transferable post COVID. Look at the travel hospitality industry, look at the professional sports or the arena industry, whatever. It's completely shifting. I was in the music industry. I saw Napster coming, and I prepared myself for the disruption that completely changed the whole economic structure of the business. So whatever skill, try to make it applicable, that if I'm doing marketing for a sports org or an esports org, I could still work for a beverage company or a consumer packaged goods company and apply those skills. If I learn social media, I could work anywhere, because that's one of the biggest areas of demand. If I know how to put a campaign together, if I know Google AdWords, if I know Facebook Blueprint, all that stuff, I can go to any industry and adapt. So I recommend just being ready to pivot, because the way the world is shifting. I think, I don't know the numbers, but a majority of the jobs that exist now will not exist, and they will be replaced with automation, AI, but creativity will never be replaced. There's certain jobs, but a lot of it is going, Garvey could probably touch on that, but just understanding the future of work is important. Technology can completely change the game, right?
Right. So hone in on your
So,
skills.
yes.
Yeah.
So,
All right. We have one more question for Josh J from Emily Jim 25. She wants to know, besides the Cavs, if you could choose any NBA 2K league to play for, which team would you choose and why? I don't know if you want to answer this.
Y'all gonna mess up his branding.
Yeah, I don't know.
If you missed it, Cavs Legion GC commented in there and was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa."
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to stay loyal to the Cavs on that.
Yeah, that's great. We
Well,
love
what
it.
about your home team? Are you from Toronto?
Yeah. I'm from Toronto, born and
Well, he
raised.
could say the home team and not get no abuse, I guess.
No, I can't say the home team right now. No, they're like 14-0.
We like it. We like
He's
it.
smarty
That was
staying away from
nice.
that one.
that was
Stay away from the home
intense.
team right now. But yeah,
All right,
definitely the Cavs. I wanted to come here, and I got the opportunity to come here. So I'm trying to just build a branding over here.
Yeah.
Plus, he's very lucky because he's in a community with, your team owner is like an investor in like 100 Thieves, Courtside Ventures, Dan Gilbert, Quicken Loans. I mean, you got a beast of an entrepreneur. So
Good organization, and he definitely puts a lot of money into his esports section. So they definitely take care of us, try to make sure that we have everything that we need, and so forth, the best playing facility that we can possibly have. So yeah, it's a blessing to be here, definitely.
That's awesome. I'm going to pass it on to Dr. E for our little close wrap up.
The
Wow,
Dr. E
wow,
spice.
wow. We got a ton of nuggets. If you didn't know, now you know. That's throwback for y'all. You're welcome. Listen, we got to thank you to all of our panelists, first and foremost, Josh J coming out from the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Cavs Legion, Danny Berger coming out from the Atlanta Reign, Garvey coming out from Twitch and representing, and then Kevin Mitchell coming out from the founder and CEO of the College Esports X. Listen, we got a lot of really, really good nuggets. I don't even know where to start or recap, but I will tell you this. One common theme that pushed through this entire conversation about how to be successful starts off with passion. It starts off with passion. And what's really interesting about the gaming industry, it allows us to engage in those passions with grit and perseverance from competition that we learned from Josh J, with opportunities to hone those skills and those communication skills, not only on a small scale, but a large scale through digital media and being authentic to your brand. We learned that from Dan Gerber, Danny. Then the Twitch piece, the community piece, just owning your skills, the soft skills and the hard skills, and building real world portfolios that engage community, competition, and careers are really critical, because we saw from 2015 the correlation between these online and face-to-face gaming experiences in higher ed have seemed to translate to STEM and STEM readiness and STEM career readiness at higher ed levels and even high school levels. And then last but not least, with inclusiveness being really important, that we learned from Kevin Mitchell, we learned that inclusiveness is a lifestyle that occurs occupationally, emotionally, digitally, and then can translate economically, which is really, really critical. Listen, there's a lot more that we can learn and talk about, I think, here today, but those points are really, really critical. And we can continue the conversation on Twitter and on IG. If you follow us at ESU_CMF, and also reach out to these incredible panelists. And stay tuned for more from the Creative Media Factory as we continue to have conversations about careers in gaming. Thank you all. Have a good one.
thanks, Jason.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.